Hey everybody, welcome to Embracing Wisdom with Stacy. That's me, and we're going to talk today about what it's like to have doubt about ourselves and how to overcome that doubt. Whew, doubt is one of those sneaky little emotions that we have where we're living our life, everything is going great, and then something happens, or we hear something, or we see something, and immediately we go back to that one time in our life when somebody said, "You're not good at that," or "You didn't do that right," or "What do you think you're doing?" And we immediately get flooded with feelings of doubt. And doubt leads us down this rabbit hole where we then second guess ourselves, or we question our intent, or we question who we are or what we're trying to do. And it can be a sneaky emotion because, at least for me, when I'm experiencing life as I know it, and I'm in my lane and I'm in my zone and life is going good, I don't often think about who I'm up against or competing with people. It's just not my nature. But then it comes and I think, what? Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not an expert in this area of what I think I'm an expert in or try to be an expert in. And so I start to have those thoughts, and then I go back to the monkey on my back that I carried for a long, long time, couple monkeys. We're going to talk about that as well. But let me give you the backbone of this. Let me give you some back information. Way back in the day when I was a young girl, I was told a lot of things. I was told, "You're not dainty enough. You're not graceful enough. You're not feminine enough. You're not whatever." I was a tomboy. I was the all-time quarterback for my neighborhood football team. I was a basketball was always in my hand. I was constantly outside shooting hoops or playing football. I was just one of the guys. There weren't very many girls on my street, and so I just hung out with the guys and I got really good at sports. And I wasn't really interested in like ballet or dancing or anything of that. And the messages that I was getting was also, "You're not dainty, you're not girly, you're not this, you're not that." So I just always felt like I'm never going to be able to do that anyway. I'm not good. So just chalk it up, never try. And so I got that feedback a lot growing up. And I also got feedback growing up that I wasn't necessarily smart enough to go to college. It wasn't that it was just said to me that way. It wasn't that. It was just sort of implied that I was too scatterbrained to go to college. I wasn't ever encouraged to go to college. It just wasn't even something that was even a conversation that my parents had with me. My brother, on the other hand, he had very high expectations to go to college. So in my teenage years, when everybody else was talking about college, I just started working. I got my first job. I was a paper girl first, but then I got my first real job, bought my first real car, and decided, hey, I guess I'm going to work and I'm going to work hard. And then I got married at age 18, and that was a great. Bought all new furniture, started being a homemaker. I had a job, decided, oh, if I'm married, I should have kids. So I started having kids. And then by the time I was 24, I had three kids. So my peer group were people older than me that I worked with who were also buying their first house and having their first kids and kind of just living the life I was living. The difference was I was 20 years old and not 30 years old. And so it was never encouraged for me to get further schooling. And so I just became a mom. And then, um, of course, as I'm raising kids and I'm getting to know other parents, that monkey on my back started to feel heavier, that I didn't have a college education. I didn't have a career. I didn't have any skills. I had nothing. I was a mom, which is a lot, but in the terms of occupation or purpose or what do you do when you're growing up, I just didn't have that. So I got messages in my childhood that there were certain things I was and I wasn't, and then certain experiences that I should or should not even pursue. And those became monkeys on my back for a long time. Then I decided to become a yoga teacher through many, many different avenues, but you can find that in another podcast. Became a yoga teacher, and the training that I initially took to become a yoga teacher was very geared toward people with disabilities. It wasn't the classic 200-hour yoga training. And so even in the yoga world, or probably way more in the yoga world, I heard, oh, where did you study? Where did you study yoga? And I started to have another monkey thrown upon my back. Well, I didn't go to a 200-hour school. I went to a very specific weekends kind of certification. It wasn't a 200-hour thing. It was a lot of work and it was great, but it wasn't the 200-hour that yoga teachers like to talk about. Well, what school did you go to? So that became a monkey on my back. And I had been teaching yoga 10 years and I still had the monkey on my back that I didn't have a 200-hour certification. So I decided to get brave and I decided to go and get the 200-hour certification, to have the piece of paper, to be registered with the Yoga Alliance, to get that monkey off my back. And so I did, and it was okay. I learned. I learned what I needed to learn. I took with it some good things. Other stuff didn't mean anything to me because I don't teach anymore. I don't teach studio or, fitness-based yoga classes, and that's what that training was very geared towards. And that reason why I chose that particular program was it fit within my schedule and within my budget. So three monkeys on my back. One, you're not graceful enough. You're not feminine enough. You could never be a dancer. You could never do girly things. Two, I never had a college education, didn't have a college degree. And three, I didn't have my stinking 200-hour yoga certification. The yoga one I eventually got. And the college, I did go back. Well, I did go back because I never went, but I did go to college. I think I took 3 semesters, so a year and a half, full caseloads, full courses. I think I had 4 classes or 5, depending on the semester, for a year and a half while working full time, while raising 3 kids by myself. And I did it. I had straight A's. I loved writing papers. I loved being in school. I loved everything about it. I did not have an A in math. I was taking remedial math because math is hard for me. But my college level courses, I got straight A's in. And I proved to myself that I am smart enough to go to college. I do have the ability to write papers and study and do all of the things that I was told I would never be able to do. And I did it and I felt really good and I wanted to keep going. But I had an amazing professor take me aside one day because I was going to school to be a social worker. And he pulled me aside and he said, you're already doing social work. You don't need to do this unless you really want to. And that gave me like the pass. And I had to say, like, okay, I needed to prove to myself that I could go to college, that I could be successful, that I could write a paper, check that off the box, take the monkey off my back. I did it. Don't have a college degree, but I proved to myself that I could do it. So I got the yoga monkey off my back. I got the college monkey off my back. And then I decided to take ballet lessons in my 40s. It was the hardest thing. It was so hard. I was surrounded by 18-year-old wafy girls that had been dancing since they were 3. It was hard, but I did it. I did 8 weeks. I did the beginner ballet or whatever it was. It was incredibly hard, but I did it. So I got rid of that. And then I actually ended up for a while teaching like a bar Pilates class. So got to use some of those ballet postures in a Pilates class. It was fun. 3 monkeys off my back. So that's my backstory as to why I'm still triggered by doubt and comparison, even though I work really hard to not compare myself to other people. So I've worked really hard in the field that I'm in, that I have chosen, that I'm passionate about, which is traumatic brain injuries and yoga and mindfulness. And I've been teaching for almost 19 years in assisted livings, and that has become who I am and what I'm all about, and I love it. One big career stepping stone that I wanted to achieve was speaking at a conference. I've spoken at a lot of small conferences and tons of support groups and just little things here and there, but I wanted to be at a state level conference talking about what I know, talking about what I believe in, talking about what my purpose is, how I show up for people, why this is so important for staff, caregivers, students themselves, all of it. So I applied for a state level conference. I got the spot. I'm speaking at a state level conference. I'm feeling good. I'm pretty proud of myself. And then I get the agenda and I see that the other speakers all have letters outside of their name, following their name, like big letters. I don't have any letters. I don't have any letters. I'm just Stacy. I'm just a yoga teacher. And I say just in quotation marks because that's not what I truly believe. But I looked at the agenda and I was like, these people are PhDs multiple times over, they're MDs, and then there's me. Talk about doubt. I immediately thought, who do I think I am speaking at a state level conference? And that my peers speaking in this conference are doctors. And I'm me. I took a semester and a half of college. It took me 10 years to get my yoga degree certification. Who am I to speak at a state level conference about traumatic brain injuries? Who am I? And doubt flooded me. It flooded me. And I didn't know what to do with that doubt. So I let myself feel it. I let myself feel the doubt. I I stepped onto the train of doubt and I rode a few miles thinking, who do I think I am? What am I doing? I can't do this. This is going to be crazy. I don't think I can do it. And then I said, you know what? Stop. You've had nearly 2 decades of weekly, intensive, hands-on, in your face, side by side, yoga and mindfulness, people living with traumatic brain injuries. Nearly 2 decades of sitting across from somebody on a weekly basis, day after day after day, teaching mindfulness tools, teaching yoga, sitting with, walking with, supporting people with brain injuries, day after day for nearly 2 decades. Now, if I took all of those years and all of the hours that I've spent sitting across from somebody with a brain injury and learning about brain injuries and learning from them and learning all the things I've learned, I would farly out exceed the hours required for a PhD. I know that, but I don't have the letters. So I listed all of the things that I've learned from my nearly 2 decades of working with people with brain injuries. And as I reviewed that list, I realized I am qualified to do this. I am amazing. I know what I'm doing. I don't have the letters, but I know what I'm doing. So my suggestion is if you're feeling doubt in a certain area of your life where you're competing with other people, you're comparing yourself with other people, whether it's your weight, your skills, the size of your house, anything that we as humans compare ourselves, I would suggest to you to make a list about all the great things that you have in your life, all of the great things that you are in your life. And when we do that and we reclaim and we re-own and we reaffirm our greatness, our doubt goes away. And that's exactly what I did. I wrote down the agencies I've been contracted with, the names of my students, in the hundreds of students, hundreds, multiple times over, that I've had the opportunity to learn from and be knee to knee, nose to nose, hands held, and working with closely for almost 20 years. That gave me back my power, gave back my confidence. I don't care what the letters are after the other people's names. I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure they're very smart. I'm sure they know their stuff. But I know my stuff, and I'm not going to let doubt get in my way. So here's your weekly assignment. When you have doubt, write down all the great things that you are, all the great things that you have, that you've become, that you've overcome, that you've witnessed, that you've learned from, and pump that up like a big fat balloon. Put it in your heart. Be consumed with your greatness. And that is an antidote for doubt. That's what I have for you. So let's keep talking about this. I'm going to talk about it more as we get a little bit closer to the conference, because I got some things about tying our doubt to our success and how we can make sense of it in the moment and overcome, continue to overcome. And all those messages and feedback we were told as kids, let it go. Go take a ballet class. Do something that you were told you could never do. Do it as an adult. You don't have anybody with that power over that little 6-year-old self saying you're not graceful enough. So go do what your heart wants you to do and have fun doing it. And I'll be back next week with another episode of Embracing Wisdom with Stacy. I'll see you soon. Bye.